The Georgia Bulldogs 2025 win total is lower than it's been in a long time. It's 9.5. Now that's a juice 9.5. It's probably more like 10. It's like minus 200 at 9.5, but still lower than it's been in quite some time. But you got a lot of turnover. We've talked about it with Rusty. We've talked about it. The quarterback position is going to get all the eyes, but offensive linemen got to replace 4 of them, got to replace the entire edge room, a lot of defensive players, a lot of new wide receivers, a lot of turnover. Doesn't mean it can't be great, but there's a lot of question marks going into the offseason. And what there isn't question marks is how difficult the schedule is. I mean, you look at the road games, a little more manageable than last year. At Tennessee, tough one. At Auburn, tough one. At Georgia Tech, tough one, but all winnable ones compared to last year where you had Ole Miss, Alabama, and Texas. All those games are at home this year, but you also have Florida at that neutral site. It's one of the toughest schedules you'll ever see.
I think Tech is in Atlanta this year.
It is.
The Bins.
Oh, yeah, I guess because they did.
So I guess that's kind of neutral, even though it is Georgia Tech's home game. I don't even really, the schedule doesn't scare me as much as it did last year, only because all those clubs that you were just talking about, they're all experiencing a tremendous amount of turnover, especially at the quarterback position. Those 3 tough games that everybody pointed out to begin the year, Texas, Bama, Ole Miss, all new quarterbacks. Now, Bama is one of the only ones that are like, thank God that guy is out of here. But, Arch Manning, we're not sure. We don't even know who Bama is going to have, and we don't know who Ole Miss is going to have. So while Georgia does experience their own attrition, those other organizations are as well. I can't believe this is at 9.5. I imagine it'll be at 10 very quickly. I also imagine different outlets have it a little bit differently. 9.5 is crazy. I don't care who's at quarterback. If it's a Kirby Smart coach Georgia team, I will take that 10-win season every single day of the week, even at those incredibly bad. If it is 200, I mean, yeah. That's crazy. 9.5 wins is, when was the last time he won less than 10?
Yeah.
In 2017?
Yeah, 2016.
2016?
Yeah, that was 8-5, I believe, his first year. Then they went to the national championship in year 2.
So they have only once.
Yeah,
and that doesn't really. They lost a baby
except for maybe COVID, but that doesn't really count either. So listen, it's tough to ever. I would never predict Georgia. It doesn't matter how much turnover to it, but I will say that schedule is ridiculous. There's certainly a path for them to get to 9 wins because I think Florida is going to be one of the best teams in the country this year with DJ Lagway, and that's already a heated rivalry. Going on the road, week 3, your first real game of the season after Marshall and Austin Peay, and playing Tennessee, who absolutely hates your guts.
That's a weird time for that game.
It's been an easy game for you, but now it's earlier in the season. First real matchup for all these new pieces. It's
Wouldn't
different.
Worry about it.
At Auburn, though, always hell. Always.
I think Georgia fans, Auburn's going to be a worse team than Tennessee. I'm not saying that Tennessee is going to be a worse team than Auburn. I would be more worried about going to Auburn than going to Tennessee. Kirby Smart has absolutely dominated Heupel. It has nothing to do with the Jimmies and Joes. It has everything to do with that edge. Kirby Smart coach football teams have the edge, and Josh Heupel's teams, they take after him, plump and happy, and they
certainly looked plump and happy ahead of that Ohio State game with their shirts off.
Yep.
There's no doubt about that. Listen, I think. Obviously, I'd stick with the over 10. I'm betting purely on Kirby Smart there. But I think this schedule is as tough as you can possibly get. And I think I think Arch Manning and Texas are probably going to be the number 1 team in the country coming into the season. They have a ton of talent returning, and Arch Manning has all the hype. We'll see if he lives up to it. Ole Miss, their backup quarterback came in against Georgia, led a touchdown drive. He's supposed to be very good. And then we'll see what happens at Alabama, whether it's that 5-star freshman that they have, Ty Simpson, but it could easily be better than Milroe. So there's just nothing easy. And those road games that are your easier games are still Tennessee, Auburn, and Georgia Tech, which we saw what Tech was able to do. Auburn's held a play in, Tennessee's held a play in, and then it's the first game of the season. So
Damian Florida. That's a hell of a and of course everything's not going to go right for all those teams. There will be missteps, and there will be things that don't come to fruition that a lot of those fan bases want. But there's also that's an insane.
It's
schedule.
That grind that we talk about where it's just like every week. And then you have Kentucky in there. And I know it's a home game and you're probably going to blow them out, but it's like, who knows? Mark Stoops could go in there. You saw what they did to Georgia this year.
Stoops does some dumb stuff like that.
But it is
their teams wake up
like
for those
Ole Miss,
games.
like Ole Miss this year. So it's very, very difficult schedule for Georgia next year with a lot of turnover.